and welcome to the Bay State Banner's tribute to Melvin B. Miller. While some of you are getting a beverage or making your way to your table, let's get the program started, shall we? First, if we can, let's silence our phones, start putting those away, and keeping our voices a little bit to the minimum while we begin with our introductory remarks. If we have not yet met, my name is Jessica Brown. I'm an anchor and medical reporter for WCVB Channel 5, and I'm so honored to be a part of this with you all tonight. Extremely honored. This is a very, very special occasion, and I'm happy to now call myself one of more than 200 friends of Mel. All of you. So Reverend Willie Broderick II is a senior pastor at 12th Baptist Church and president and CEO of the American City Coalition. And he's here to bless our meal so that you may begin enjoying all of what you're about to have in front of you. Just so you know, if you have your food card, put it right behind your table so everyone can see as they come around. And let's bring up the Reverend.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Reverend Willie Broderick II, and I'm glad to be here today and to be counted as a friend of Mel. Let us go to God in prayer on this evening. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we gather here today to celebrate the legacy of a visionary and trailblazer in Boston's Black community, in this country, and even in the world of journalism, Melvin B. Miller. As we gather together on this night to honor this accomplishments of this great man, and as we celebrate this greatness that he has brought forward to our city, we thank you for the remarkable journey that he has had. We thank you that from a small office in Nubian Square on Warren Street, for almost 60 years, he has committed himself to unwavering dedication and tireless efforts to pave the way for countless voices to be heard, for stories to be told, for truths to be revealed, and for the news to keep us informed. We have all been blessed by his great works and his commitment to empowering our community and uplifting us each and every day. And so we thank you for the Bay State Banner, as it has touched so many lives and has fostered unity and understanding and progress. As Melvin's legacy has continued, we also pray for Ron Mitchell and Andre Starks that they be granted strength and courage and wisdom to carry forward the torch of truth and justice and community empowerment. As we gather together, we ask that you bless this food that we are about to receive. May it nourish our bodies and strengthen our minds. We ask that you bless the hands that have prepared it and those who may serve us on this night. But most importantly, may our fellowship bring us together to share our collective stories and experiences as Mel has done in his life's work. So on this night, we say thank you for Melvin B. Miller, and we ask that you continue to use the Bay State Banner to amplify voices and stories and shape and inspire the Boston's Black community. We ask all these things in your many blessings. In the name of Christ Jesus, I pray. Let every heart and mind say together, amen.
Thank you, Reverend Broderick there. Now for the first order of business is to thank all of you for being here tonight to help celebrate this historic 58-year legacy of the Bay State Banner, one of the nation's leading Black-owned news organizations and oldest of 3 currently operating in New England. Until March of this year, the Banner has been steered steadfastly by Mel Miller, founder, owner, publisher, and editor-in-chief of the Banner since 1965. Think about it, 58 years of reporting the trials and triumphs of Black and brown communities, 58 years of covering important news, often sometimes where mainstream can have some blind spots, and I'm saying that. We're getting better though. And 58 years of recording our personal stories about racial discrimination, about legal, income, and health inequities, about arts and cultural milestones, and so much more. And tonight, we will do our best to give justice to Mel's phenomenal body of work in under 2 hours. We're going to try. Before we get started, a few housekeeping notes here I want to mention. The bar will close in a little bit of time, about 15 minutes or so that everyone is seated before tributes begin promptly. Is it closed now? Did I hear that? few more minutes, I think it's open. So please allow servers to easily pass through the aisles when the meal service begins immediately following our opening remarks. Not to worry, though, the bar will reopen right after the final musical tribute. Restrooms, if folks are wondering, right out the door and to the right. There will be staff out there to help guide you if you're looking for it. Many of you have wonderful memories of Mel and what the banner means to you. So we would love to capture and share your brief stories, as well as congratulations for Mel and the new owners. So if you look at the large image of Mel right outside the Smith foyer by which to stand, take a selfie with the image if you can, and share it on social media. You can do it at Bay State Banner and hashtag Friend of Mel. And now, help me welcome Ronald D. Mitchell, the new co-owner, publisher, and editor of the Bay State Banner, and president and CEO of Mitchell Stark Enterprises. Ron will guide us through some of the banner's historical highlights throughout the evening and introduce our first musical tribute. Ron.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. Mel, we are honored. We are here in your honor, and we want to thank you for all you've done for our community for over 58 years. We really appreciate you. I want to thank all the other supporters of Andre and I's venture. I want to thank my co-owner, Andre Stark. Andre. We are really, truly honored to all be here. We are all friends of Mel for all that he's done for our community for so many years. And I just wanted to take a moment to thank all the different supporters. I wanted to thank the Boston Foundation, Leaf, LISC, all the other supporters. I wanted to thank the wonderful folks who've been working for the banner staff for over 58 years as well, or for 58 years as well, all the folks, the writers, the photographers. I just want to talk a little bit about many of the things that Mel's done over the years. Okay, there we go. So Mel, I want to thank you for all that you've done over the years. When your paper first started, you had an amazing staff, and you guys worked very hard to tell the truth about various different things in Boston. And you guys really worked hard to make sure that all of us understood the different civil rights issues of the time. Because in 1965, when you started, stories like things about Angela Davis and Malcolm X and the various different civil rights leaders that we had was top news and front page issues. And I know that you also knew Malcolm X back in the day because he grew up less than a half mile from you in Roxbury where you grew up. So it's an honor to know that I'll be standing in your shoes, and Andre and I will be working hard to continue your legacy. Not only did you talk about political information, but you also talked about economic empowerment. And here in one of the early papers, you're calling out your own alma mater and forcing them and reminding them what they owe our community as far as equal employment. Many people forget as you look back. You also talked a lot about the various different political issues in reference to busing and that whole struggle, and how there are various different elements of our community and how we all needed to get together to really make it a better place for all and to focus on education. It's really striking when I think back of all of the different things that the banner has done for our community. I and Andre had the chance to go to the archives and really understand the various different stories and the plethora of issues. You were definitely a groundbreaker, and I think that you took the mantle from the prior freedom papers and local papers of the time, William Monroe Trotter's paper and various other papers, and when you came, you kind of stood on their shoulders and created a whole new legacy and a whole new brand of information for all of our folks. Thank you.
Say what you want to do for love. You tried everything, but you won't give up, baby. Give up, oh, you. Got a thing for you. Yes, I do, baby. My friend wonder what is wrong with me. Said I'm paradise, but your love is sweet. I came back to let you know, got a thing for you, and I can't let it go. My love, that is true. That I do for you. Say what you want to do for love. You tried everything, but you won't give up, baby. In my world, only you got a thing for you. Yes, I do, baby. So make me do what I would not do. Make me do for love what I would not play or play by. Honey on the sax, y'all. Bring it down. See, I sell my watch and chain if I had one, and I'll put all my diamond rings for your love, baby, for your sweet, sweet love, darling. Guess what else I'll do now? Yeah, see, I swim the ocean blue, babe. Climb Mount Everest to get to you, darling. I'll swim the ocean in a hurricane, babe. For your sweet, sweet love, I'm almost going insane. Say what you want to do for love. You tried everything, but you won't give up. In my world, only you got a deep for you. Yes, I do, baby. Make me do for love what I would not do, love. Make me do for love what I would not do, baby. Make me what I would not do.
Can we get another round of applause for Mary Noel Terrace featuring Wally Ali? I mean, come on. We're going to hear more from them in a bit, but let's enjoy our dinner.
You like to dress, or won't you come on over and stop making a fool out of me? Why don't you come on over, Valerie? Come on over, Valerie. jail, put your house up for sale. Did you get a good lawyer? I hope you didn't catch a tan. I hope you'll find the right man who'll fix it for you.
Just call me Mr. Fix It.
And are you shopping anywhere? Change the color of your hair. Are you busy? And did you have to pay that fine that you were dodging all the time? Are you still dizzy? 'Cause since I've come on home, well, my body's been a mess. And I miss your ginger hair and the way you like to dress. Oh, won't you come on over and stop making a fool out of me?
A big round of applause for this amazing band, Marion Alteris featuring Wally Ali.
Thank you very much.
Amazing, amazing. Oh. All right, we're gonna get things started right now. So we're gonna bring back Ron Mitchell once again. He's been giving us amazing historical facts. He's gonna give us an introduction on our mayor, who's joining us tonight. So Ron Mitchell, can you come on up?
Thank you so much. So, as our evening progresses, we wanted to honor Mel with a few speeches and a few wonderful words for all of the time that he spent dedicated to our community. And our first speaker is our wonderful mayor, Madam Michelle Wu.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Ron, and thank you to all of the distinguished luminaries who are in this room. We could lock the doors and figure out basically any challenge, any solution here with the folks who have been building this community for many decades represented here. I want to thank community leaders. I want to thank elected leaders. I want to thank members of our administration who I see sprinkled throughout also here as testament to what the leadership of Mr. Miller and the legacy of the banner represent in our city. So thank you to several of our chiefs, Chief Idawu Shagun, who is here leading our efforts on economic opportunity and inclusion. We have our Chief of Community Engagement, Brianna Malor, to our Chief of Worker Empowerment, Trin Nguyen, Chief of Energy, Environment, and Open Space, Reverend Mariama White-Hammond. And we have Kareen Reynolds, who is leading our efforts around strategic nightlife economy and all that represents for the city. Our comms team, press secretary. We are so grateful to have the opportunity to honor you and to celebrate how much you have changed the city of Boston. It's impossible to quantify the impact that Mr. Miller and his work at the Bay State Banner have had. You just have to, even the sheer length of decades, 58 years of carrying on a tradition of representation, of accountability, of true voice for community. It's a practice that William Monroe Trotter first brought to Boston with The Guardian, a paper that declared that its action in community was just as important as its words. And when The Guardian closed its doors in 1960, it left a gigantic void in our city, one that Mel and the Banner stepped up to fill, doubling down on the importance and practice of centering community action with his slogans, unity, progress, let's do it ourselves. And that's what Mel and the Banner have done. Not just calling for community action, but creating it. Not just demanding progress, but making it. Doing the work in community. Our city and the communities of color whose life, talent, brilliance comprise so much of Boston's strength would not be where we are today without Mr. Miller's leadership or the Banner. This is a paper that nearly 6 decades ago saw with clarity the weight of the work ahead and charged forward not in spite of it, but because of it. amplifying the voices of Black families, businesses, and communities, championing civil rights through the highest quality fact-finding, truth-telling, and journalism. As a result, the Banner has stood tall as the largest, oldest, and most trusted Black community newspaper in New England. And here I want to acknowledge also the countless partners, donors, investors, community readers who recognize the meaning and power of this paper and whose support kept it in the very hands of community where it belonged. Mr. Miller, thank you for giving so much of yourself to this project over so many decades for community. Your love and energy and your commitment will continue in the legacy that you have left and that you will continue to build. Congratulations on what the Banner has become. And congratulations on finally finding leaders with sharp enough eyes and big enough hearts to take up the mantle in Ron Mitchell and Andre Stark. I know Ron and Andre grew up watching their parents sit down to open the pages of the Banner with a sharp flick of their wrists before eventually becoming devoted readers themselves. And like so many, their connection to the Banner is a long and familiar one rooted fundamentally in trust and understanding. Trust, not only that the words you're reading are honest, relevant, and true, but that the person who wrote them, the paper that pulls it all together, understands and cares about you and your neighborhood and your community, because it's their neighborhood and community too. I know I'm not alone in my excitement to see this next chapter and how Ron and Andre will bring that ethos of trust and understanding and community-centered journalism to communities across the region. Thank you for taking on this important work. Thank you, Mr. Miller, for ensuring that your legacy continues on with the Banner finding its way into the communities where it's needed for many, many decades and generations to come. Thank you for building something so trusted and so admired, for not only listening to and informing our communities, but supporting, celebrating, and challenging us all to have faith in the future and what we could become together. I wish you all the best in your well-earned retirement. I am suspicious that it will actually be a retirement, but we will be there to celebrate you, and thank you so much for all that you have done. Congratulations.
Mayor Wu, thank you so much for those words. Right now, we want to bring in Danny Rivera with a musical tribute. Singer, composer, producer, activist, and Boston Arts Academy alumni. Come on up.
Good evening, everyone. I see so many familiar faces in the room. It's so good to see you. What a blessing it is to be in community again, right? Being isolated for so long. Will you all give it up for Gavin Rushing on keys from Macon, Georgia? They asked me to sing the Negro National Anthem, and of course I'm going to, but I gotta put a little twist on it. And want to honor you, Mr. Miller, for your work, your dedication, your sacrifice, and for building strong narratives for our people. So thank you. Lifted, free voice, and sing till earth and heaven ring with a harmony of liberty. the listening sky. Look at your neighbor, say, neighbor, let us march on till victory. You gonna take a solo? Is won. Gavin Rushing, everybody. Sing a song, write an article, sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us, facing the rising sun of our new. Let us march on till victory. Come on, loop it. Is won. See, sometimes you got to remind yourself, you still got to hold on. Let us march on, till victory is won. Look at somebody next to you. Look them in the eyes. Go ahead, look them in the eyes and say, let us march on till victory is won. Oh, let us march on till victory is won. We love you, Mr. Miller. Thank you for your sacrifice.
Thank you so much. That was so good. And a round of applause. So I just wanted to take a moment really quickly to thank all of our sponsors for this evening and all the supporters of the banner. I have a little better notes now. So I definitely want to thank Glenn Lloyd in Mill City, who came on early on in the process. We love you, my brother. We love you. Thank you. Couldn't have done it without you. Sent me down this rabbit hole, but it was worth it. I'm honored to be here. We also want to thank the Boston Foundation, as I mentioned earlier, One United Bank as well for sponsoring us this evening. Thank you so much for the Boston Foundation and all that you guys do for our city and supporting the paper. We also want to include our attorneys, Nutter, McClellan, and Fish. I know our attorneys are in the room. Thank you guys so much. We also want to include our debt partners, Leaf and Dorchester Bay. I want to thank you guys very much for coming on early on and supporting us. And I'm anticipating, I don't want to speak ahead of ourselves, but Ujima, hopefully another debt partner and equity partner coming on very soon. So Nia, I know you're in here. Thank you so much for your support. We also want to, of course, thank El Mundo, lifetime partner in our community, to tell the story in the news. I know you and Mel go way back, like Alex said, you guys go way back like 8-track. I know you young people don't know what that is, but it's a little thing you used to put in your car and play music anyway. I also want to continue to thank Embrace for coming on and being a sponsor for this event, and for all you guys have done for the city, and with that wonderful, wonderful memorial to the Kings in the heart of our city. It's very important. I also want to thank the Nubian Square group, Richard Taylor, Richard, and all the folks you brought to the table, Abel and Juno. Thank you so much, Richard, for all that you do for our city. So as we move forward, I'll let you guys, I don't know if you guys are ready, you can roll our little look back. So, you know, Mel, it's really amazing all that you've done for the city. I actually think this is our first look back at all of your staff here, all the wonderful people, some of them still in the room. When we look back at the banner, there was a very big struggle for black political power back in the 60s. And Mel lived and has struggled with this paper long enough to see our first black mayor in Kim Janey. And she wouldn't have been able to be our first black mayor, and as well as our first black attorney general, Andrea Campbell. And those, we would not have been able to have those folks in those positions if it wasn't for all the different political stories that Mel did and all the political empowerment that Mel pushed forward with the Black Caucus and all the other organizations. But it was important for Mel's paper not only to talk about the struggles, but also to talk about the joy. Here you see the Miss Black Massachusetts. He also talked about the good things, Muhammad Ali coming to Harvard and sharing the stories. And as we move forward, the banner is going to our new paper is going to take a look back and add some things that used to happen in the past. We're going to add a sports section moving forward. We're also going to be streaming local high school sports games as well on our platform to help increase our readership and to also help provide some more resources for our community. One of the new things we're going to do with our website is make it what I refer to as an interactive online resource, where you can go and actually apply for those jobs and those loan opportunities and all those other things that the other resources in the community. We're also going to create an art gallery with our host Paul Goodnight and other artists. That's going to be another full-page ad that we're adding to the paper. You know, back in the day, the paper really helped to support many, many international issues. Here, Coretta Scott King came in town and was talking about the support for Nelson Mandela. And all those different struggles that we as a country have, and we look back, Mel's paper encapsulated them, they educated us, they really took journalism to another level. And I'm really honored to be able to continue his legacy, and Andre, we're going to work very hard. It took two of us to almost fill your shoes, almost fill your shoes, and that's two of us. So thank you so much, Mel, for all you've done for our city. We love you. Thank you so much.
How about a little more music? Yeah? Oh, no? Yes? There it is. Right now, Zachary Z String Rochester singing, or performing, I should say, Change Gon' Come by Sam Cooke.
How you guys doing out there? You guys enjoying yourselves? I said, are you guys enjoying yourselves? Well, Melvin, I know I wasn't originally supposed to be the one to perform this song, but I'm very grateful that I am able to do this for you guys tonight. And it's an honor to be able to play for such an, well, for lack of a better word, onerous occasion. 1, 2, 3, 4. The reason I like playing this song so much and performing this song, the reason I'm so grateful for this right now, is because whenever I have the opportunity to perform this song, I like to tell people a little bit about the history of the song, the ethos surrounding what this song means to American history, especially the black community, and the correlation between the two. The correlation between the song itself and our actual history and how it follows that. So if you can bear with me, I don't have the greatest voice in the world. I'm mainly a bass guitar player. But I'm gonna try. Hopefully you enjoy it. I was born by a river in a little town. Oh, and just like that river, I've been running. I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will. It's been too hard living, yeah. But I'm afraid to die, 'cause I don't know what's up there, way up beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will. Let's look at the bridge real quick. But then I go, to my brother, and I'm like, brother, help me. But he just winds up knocking me. Real quick. So as I said earlier, there's a reason that I like performing this song. It's because at this time, I like to have, just stay on the one for right now, sorry about that, stay on the one. I like to give a little bit of a lesson. I'm an artist educator myself, so I like to teach people about the history of this song. What a lot of people don't know about this song is that when Sam Cooke originally wrote it, he only had one opportunity to perform it live in front of a nationally syndicated audience. And that one time almost didn't happen. That one time that it did happen, it was on the Johnny Carson show. And unfortunately, because of some sort of mishap, either they didn't record it or they lost the footage. So only if you were alive to watch that show, which I hope you were able to watch, Ron. I'm not saying Ron. Melvin. I hope you're able to see it. Because it's the only time you would have heard him perform this song with all 4 verses. See, there's 4 verses to this song. What a lot of people don't know, and I didn't know until the mid-90s myself, is that because he died For those of you who don't know, he died 2 months before this album was due to be released. And because he passed away, because he was murdered, he never had any sort of say in how this was going to be portrayed to the rest of the world. And because of this, the record execs and the radio companies decided that the third verse was just a little too controversial. He's saying just a little too much. And they cut it out. So unless you bought the long playing record of this, you would not have heard this third verse. Like I said, I myself did not hear it until the mid-90s. Thankfully, the record companies and the radio stations wised up. And anywhere you go online, anywhere you listen, anytime you listen on the radio, you'll hear all 4 verses. But if you listen to other recording artists that recorded the song, because there were multiple of them in Motown, Aretha Franklin, Otis Redding, Al Green, multiple people recorded this song. You will only hear 3 verses in their versions. Because a lot of people didn't know. It's a very short verse. It doesn't require anywhere near as long as an introduction as I'm giving it right now, just so you know. But I think it's very important to understand there was a time where this very short verse, with a very subtle words in it, was so controversial that they had to blacklist 1 verse of a song. And it goes a little something like this. I go to the movies and I go downtown. Somebody keeps telling me, boy, don't be hanging around. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will. Let's look at the bridge one more time. But then I go to my brother, and I'm like, brother, help me please. And Al Green said, and when he says no, I go to my mama. There's been times that I thought, yeah, I thought it was gonna last for long. But now I know, baby, I know I got the will to carry on. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh yes, give it up for Sam Cooke, man ahead of his time, gone before his time. But also give it up for Melvin B. Miller, y'all. Thank you for spending some time listening to this.
I mean, come on, another round of applause here for Zachary Z-String Rochester. Thank you for performing that 4th verse. I loved it. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, our next guest is also a history maker. the Honorable Governor Maura Healey, the first woman and LGBTQ+ person elected to serve as governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Governor Healey has pledged to find solutions to get our public transportation system back on the rails, to tackle affordable housing, and combat the climate crisis. Governor Healey has at an event on Martha's Vineyard tonight and sends this digital tribute on behalf of the citizens of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Let's watch.
Hi, everyone. It's Governor Maura Healey. Since 1965, the Bay State Banner has been more than a newspaper. And Melvin Miller, you've been so much more than a publisher. You're a storyteller, an educator, mentor, advocate, and champion of the written word. If the Banner is the pulse of Black Boston, you are its beating heart. In the midst of the civil rights movement, you saw the need for a trusted, tenacious journalism. You saw the opportunity to spark important conversations, to mobilize communities, to change the status quo. And you knew that there was this room, not only to tell the stories of Black Bostonians and communities of color, but to bring the city together and celebrate those stories. The values you kept as editor and publisher of the Banner, unity, progress, and determination, they're just as important now as they were in 1965. And although it's time for some long overdue rest, know that your legacy has made a lasting impact at the Banner, in Boston, and on the media landscape of Massachusetts. We are so grateful to you for your decades of service and to your team now who will carry on your great work at the Bay State Banner. Thank you for letting me say a little something and be part of such a special tribute. You deserve the best, Melvin. Take care and enjoy the rest of the evening.
Thanks to Governor Maura Healey there. You know, scientists and artists have a lot in common. Both pay extra close attention to the world around them for unique perspective of life. Architect, technologist, research scholar at MIT, aerospace advisor to the White House, film and TV producer and co-creator of the Martin TV series. He most recently received 2 Lifetime Achievement Awards, one from the Boston Comedy Festival and one from the Roxbury International Film Festival. So please welcome Topper Carew.
Hello, my dear brother. Very happy to be here to celebrate for a son of Roxbury. Son of Roxbury. At Howard, I gained my political and Black consciousness after joining the Howard chapter of SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. So given that consciousness as a media maker, I would like to cite several examples of the power of media. Emmett Till, the photograph in the open casket in Jet magazine, the young boy's face, crushed and disfigured. The photo in Jet magazine ignited Black America protestation. Mississippi Summer, Freedom Summer, the murder of Goodwin, Schwerner, and Cheney. By the way, Cheney used to spend his summers on Intervale Street. I was in Mississippi that summer as a field secretary for SNCC, a half a mile from where they dumped Till's body in the Tallahatchie River, and I was being hunted by killers. The children in Birmingham, the children being hosed and attacked by dogs. for the eyes of the media to see. The media exposure of Mississippi and Birmingham ignited the passage of the Voting Rights and the Civil Rights Acts in this country. Rodney King, Michael Brown, Trayvon Martin, George Floyd, Dr. King, Malcolm X, Medgar Evers, John and Bobby Kennedy, media swept the nation. Claiborne, when he came out for Biden, and the media covered that, changed the face of that election. And in Georgia, John Lewis, who had been our chairman in SNCC, his district secured the winning of Georgia, and thus Biden is the president. And you need to know that Clyburn comes up to Prince Hall. He's in Prince Hall. You need to know that John is Prince Hall. Now, when I was a little boy, growing up in Lower Roxbury, in my grandmother's living room, on the wall was a picture of Jesus, and you all remember that, and a picture of Dr. King. Now, on the living room table, lined up in neat rows, was Jet Magazine. Lined up was Ebony Magazine, the Pittsburgh Courier, the Baltimore African American. This was our political, cultural, and historical library. It was all media. One day, a new publication appeared in the lineup, the Bay State Banner, with local stories. Now, this brings me to Brother Mel. He's culturally audacious. Intelligence, equality, and equity and excellence are in his DNA. He is creatively bodacious. He dared to create an instrument called the Bay State Banner. He has human capacity. With it, he has kept the banner afloat against all odds. And many of us know those stories. He has political tenacity. With it, he has risen above criticism, political polarization, and stayed the course when local newspapers are falling like flies. And finally, he has spiritual veracity. In my times with Mel, we talk about Roxbury, and we talk about our love of Roxbury and our pride of Roxbury. And that love and dedication to Roxbury has fueled his spirit and passion, and possibly more than any other person in this room. You have been our principal storyteller and our master weaver of a tapestry of the history of Roxbury. Mel, it ain't over, brother. Just another chapter. It's black to the future. Amen.
Topper Carew, thank you. The Honorable Senator Elizabeth Warren has been our representative in Congress for more than 10 years. Her policies to increase the minimum wage, improve consumer protections, and make college tuition just more affordable for all issues families of color face daily. Well, We're going to hear from her now. We're going to let you know that her and Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley would be here, but we're not for a very important issues right now happening in Congress, but she did send a video. Let's watch.
Hello, everyone. I am so excited to be here with all of you today to celebrate Mel Miller's amazing accomplishments and his decades of service to the Boston community and to our Commonwealth. It's great to see so many civic, business, and community leaders from across Boston and the Commonwealth here today. I am so glad to join virtual tributes with people like my friend and partner here in Congress, Ayanna Pressley and Tanya Hart. Now, first off, congratulations, Mel. Congratulations for your 57 years of service to the Boston community, and congratulations on this next chapter in your life. For 57 years, Mel has led the Bay State Banner, just amazing. New England's largest minority-owned news organization. And for 57 years, Mel and the reporters at the Banner have done the work on the ground, covering the political, economic, social, and cultural issues that matter most to communities of color in Boston and all across New England. This independent reporting has been essential for 57 years, and it will continue to be essential in the decades to come. I know that the Bay State Banner's next chapter will be a bright one. You are in good hands with the next generation of owners, Ron Mitchell and Andre Stark. So, congratulations again, Mel, on this amazing milestone, and thank you for all of your service to the people of Boston and our Commonwealth. We owe you a great debt of gratitude.
Well, for 42 years, El Mundo has been the Spanish heritage newspaper of Boston and a sister publication to the Bay State Banner. Well, together, they've carried the stories that champion and illuminate injustice. Their partnership is proof of our allyship on behalf of communities of color. So please welcome to the podium Alberto Vasallo, editor and publisher of El Mundo, the community newspaper of record for Greater Boston's Latino population.
Buenas noches. Good evening. Oh, what a pleasure it is to be here because to be able to share my thoughts on Mr. Miller, his legacy, and my own personal experience is a treat because, as was said, it's actually 52 years. And Mel represents to me personally someone, one of those names, similar to Colette Phillips, but even before you, Colette, comes Mel. I can remember Mel's name when I was a 13-year-old reporter reporting in Fenway Park for my father's newspaper, El Mundo, and that was over 40 years ago. That's how I started El Mundo. El Mundo started in '72. You started in '65. So I grew up watching what you were doing from close and from afar. My father did as well. Our paths would cross at many community events over the years. So Mel has seen me grow up from a 13-year-old to a, we won't do the math, but it's been a while, yeah. But you see, in my eyes, and I've told him this, Mel reminds me of my father, and vice versa. And if you know me, okay, you know that my father's my hero. So when I would say that, it was always with the utmost respect and admiration, because I would see a lot of my dad in you. So, you know, two stubborn, strong-willed, defiant OGs who started their respective publications in a city and a time very different than now. I know that our mayor, Michelle Wu, was here, and I love Michelle and I love her administration, but I always tell her, you know, you've seen this city for only like the last 15, 20 years, right? We who've been here for a long time have seen the changes because we knew how it was. when you started in the 60s, it was in the midst of the civil rights movement. When my father started in 72, was right in the middle of the busing era. So it was a different city and a different time. You were in second grade, Shagun, right? So it's been a while. If you're going to do the math on me, do the math on Shagun as well. But as I've told Mel over the years, I've always gravitated toward him. When I would see him at an event, I would make sure that I would said hi and gave him a hug. We've had dinner together, we've had many meetings, and I would always gravitate towards his diatribes, because that's what they were. Frustrated over being a non-traditional minority media outlet, oftentimes overlooked and overshadowed by government entities, private sector partners, newsmakers, PR and advertising firms alike. So I knew that, and I gravitated towards that because that's what I would hear at home from my father. And that's what I would say. You sound exactly like my father. So I would always admire and emulate Mel's unyielding passion. We heard that earlier today. If you've ever had a conversation with Mel, even tonight, he was talking about the state of journalism right now and what he's going to do about it after he retires. So he's not done at all. But the list, which contains the names of Boston newspapermen with over 50 years in service to their community, has only 2 names on it, Mel's and my father's. And tonight, we celebrate the first name on that list. So Mel, you have led, you have pioneered, you have trailblazed, you have inspired. And for all of that, muchas gracias de mi corazón. Muchas gracias, Mel. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, was a night 58 years in the making, and you deserve to bask in your glory. He is one of the most unsung heroes because I don't remember a time where we've honored Mel Miller. We've honored the banner, we've honored so many others, and he's been part of those nights. So I felt so happy to be asked by Ron and Andre to speak tonight. So Mel, I'll conclude by saying this. You did always remind me of my father, and there was many similarities between you and my father, but there was one little difference between you and my father. And it's actually not a little difference, it's a pretty big one. You see, when my father retired, he handed over me El Mundo. When you retired, what happened, Uncle Mel? I was waiting for you to give me a call to take over the banner, and then Ron and Andre show up, and I'm still waiting, Uncle Mel. So anyway, I'm just kidding. Ron and Andre, congratulations on a new era, and everybody, let's have a great time. Thank you, Uncle Mel.
Our next speaker is no stranger to breaking barriers or expressing her opinion. She was the first woman of color elected to Boston City Council and first Black woman elected to the United States Congress from Massachusetts. She's nationally recognized as a lifelong activist who has taken up the mantle for racial injustice, human rights, and universal health care. Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley.
Hello everyone, Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley here. I'm in Washington doing the people's work, so I can't be in beloved community with you to pay tribute to Mel Miller in person, but I had to bring a message, at least virtually. Mel, you are a trailblazer. You are a truth teller. You are a record keeper. You've contributed so much to the rich legacy of Black journalism in Boston and beyond. Throughout your decades-long stewardship of the Banner, our newspaper of record, you have told our stories, you have stoked our consciousness, and you've uplifted our communities. You know, despite our rich history and the many contributions that we make, the story of Black Boston, story of Black America, whether you're talking about civil rights, urban renewal, displacement, the heroic contributions of community leaders and activism each and every day, the story is either never told, or it's whitewashed, or it is ignored, or it's erased entirely. And that's why, at a time when Black history is under attack, I'm especially grateful. I'm grateful for you, Mel. I'm grateful that you have used the power of the pen righteously, to shape the narrative, to create space, to amplify our struggles and our joy. And also, I'll say this, as an elected official, the Congresswoman representing the Massachusetts 7th, one of the most unequal districts in the country, I'm grateful that we have a thriving Black newspaper that holds those in positions of power accountable too, because that also matters. So thank you to everyone gathered here today to celebrate this giant in our community. We're giving you your flowers, Mel. Thank you for laboring in love. Thank you for your decades of public service. And thank you for making sure that this essential newspaper remains in good hands for many years to come. Congratulations on such an incredible career. We love you, Mel.
Thanks to Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley for that. You know, in Boston, public relations professionals and community newspapers work seamlessly to share the stories of important events and issues of the day. As the first minority and woman-owned publication here, and I should say, hold on one second, public relations firm in the city, want to get that right. Collette Phillips Communications has earned numerous awards for promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion. Today, we're honored to have with us the principal and owner of CPC, Collette Phillips. Please give her a warm welcome.
Thank you, Jessica. And before I say a few words about Mel, I want to acknowledge both Ron Miller and Andre Stark for really doing this for Mitchell and Andre Stark for celebrating Mel. Mel, I agree with our friend Alberto. You have really been underappreciated in this community. Let me just say that in the vibrant tapestry of Boston's history, there exists a figure whose dedication and vision have woven a remarkable legacy, shaping every fabric of our community. Today we gather to pay tribute to a towering force, Melvin B. Miller, the extraordinary founder and publisher of the Bay State Banner, whose unwavering commitment for more than a half a century will be forever etched in the annals of journalistic excellence and history. When history is written, Mel's name will be there along with William Monroe Trotter. With pen in hand and an indomitable spirit, Mel embarked on a quest to illuminate the voices and stories that too often lay hidden within the shadows. He dared to challenge the status quo, fearlessly championing the causes of the Black community, providing a platform for those whose narratives were overlooked by mainstream media. For decades, the Bay State Banner, under Mel's stewardship, has been a beacon of truth, justice, and empowerment. In its pages, the power of words transcended mere ink on paper, breathing life into the hopes, the dreams, and the struggles of a community in search of a voice. Mel's unwavering commitment to providing fair, unbiased reporting has set a new standard for journalistic integrity, elevating the profession to new heights. But Mel has been more than just a publisher. He has been a guiding light and a North Star, an advocate and a mentor to many, including myself. He reminded me tonight that I knew him when I was studying journalism at Emerson College. And that was, I don't want to tell you how long ago. More than half my life I have known Mel. And even though you might disagree with him, the one thing you will always admire is his conviction and his integrity. His unwavering belief in the power of education and information became a catalyst for change, inspiring a generation to rise above adversity and seek hope. Through the Bay State banner, Mel became a guardian of the community, fearlessly tackling issues that others shied away from civil rights to economic inequality, from systemic racism to cultural preservation. Mel fearlessly wielded his pen, exposing the underbelly of injustice and holding those in power accountable. His unwavering commitment to social justice has left an indelible mark on the consciousness, inspiring generations to stand up, speak out, and fight for a better tomorrow. I would be remiss if I also did not tonight acknowledge Sandra Casagrande, who has been a great ally in supporting Mel and Mel's family, Jack and his sisters and nephews. It does take a village. And Mel, I am so pleased that you allowed me to be part of your village. I know you're not going to retire, so I can't wait to see what you do next, and know that I will be in the vanguard and the breach supporting Andre and Ron as they move forward with your legacy. Thank you.
Paulette Phillips, thank you. Looking for engaging radio discussions? Well, look no further than GBH's Boston Public Radio, hosted by Jim Brody and Marjorie Egan since 2012. The award-winning program features insightful conversations with global, national, and local thought leaders and celebrated authors. If you didn't catch their recent interview with Mel Miller and Ron Mitchell, you can still listen and catch it online. You're going to hear from them in just a moment. We do want to add a little West Coast flavor to this as well. We want to talk about Tanya Hart, who also has a message. If you've ever watched BET or listened to American Urban Radio Network, our next speaker is a familiar face and voice as well. Tanya got her start on Boston's WBZ-TV as the host of the local daily talk show Coming Together. She left Boston and moved to LA to become one of the first talk show hosts on the BET cable network, interviewing Hollywood film stars and recording artists like Tupac Shakur, world leaders like Nelson and Winnie Mandela, to name a few. Since then, Tanya has continued her success as an Emmy Award-winning film producer, talented singer, and queen of the red carpet. Let's hear from Tanya, along with a couple of others.
When I think of the Bay State banner, two words come to mind: Black excellence. Since its inception in 1965, Mel Miller never faltered on those two words. And in fact, when we moved to Boston in the early 70s, my family and I didn't know that many people, but we relied on the Bay State banner to keep us enlightened and informed. In fact, it was the banner that did the very first article on me as a TV producer for 1672 with Lavelle Diet. That was the article my family framed and hung on the wall for many, many years. When I got the call to come to Los Angeles from Bob Johnson, he wanted me to build BET's West Coast operation. It was a daunting task, but I had the advantage of knowing Mel Miller, whom I had watched as he kept Black news actually valuable and made sure it was sustainable. And trust me, that is no easy task. So here we are. We have moved forward and passed the baton to one of my longtime and dear friends, Ron Mitchell and Andre Stark. These men exemplify Black excellence. So we move into the 21st century with all kinds of new bells and whistles and new ideas and big ideas that I'm sure will be very sustainable. And and profitable. I would just like to thank everyone involved, especially since I'm going to be the new Hollywood correspondent. So congratulations to Mel, to Andre, to Ron, and to all of the people who have kept the banner as a beacon of light in this world of media. Have a great evening. God bless.
I'm Jim Browdy.
I'm Marjorie Egan, and we co-host Boston Public Radio at GBH. And when I think of Mel Miller, well, I wrote news stories for years at the Boston Herald, and when I'd pick up the phone and hear Mel Miller calling, I knew what would follow. Marjorie, you have no idea what you're talking about, and sadly for me, Mel was right. So I owe him and the Bay State Banner a huge debt of gratitude for helping me understand the stories behind the stories so I would not keep making a fool of myself.
You know, Mel Miller's life and work has intersected with people like Ed Brooke, Reverend King. He did tell Dr. King that as a Boston guy, if he was called a name, he was not into that nonviolent thing. Harry Belafonte and so many more world changers. But his mark was made in his fight to improve the lives of people in our communities. Fearless, relentless, and convinced that ordinary people could do extraordinary things if simply given a fair chance. Now let me repeat the most overused cliche there is. Mel's are tough shoes to fill, and no one will.
But two men, Andre Stark and Ron Mitchell, will come as close as anyone can.
And having roots at GBH doesn't hurt, so Mel, we're honored to be a small part of this tribute.
And the next time the phone rings and it's you, Mel, I hope it's just to invite me out to lunch.
Our thanks to them for setting those videos in. How are we doing? Doing good? All right. Joining us now is Dr. J. Keith Motley, Chancellor Emeritus of UMass Boston, where Dr. Motley has spearheaded a 25-year project to revitalize the campus. His efforts are ensuring a state-of-the-art integrated sciences complex, University Hall, and student residency buildings. In recognition of his outstanding work, UMass recently named a new residence hall in honor of Dr. Motley and his wife, Angela, who is also with us tonight. There we go. Wanted to give a shout out. Let's give a big welcome to Dr. J. Keith Motley.
Good evening, family. I am so honored to be here tonight, to be part of this tribute for my dear, I know we were calling him uncle and father and brother, but someone who has been an incredible part of my life, Mr. Melvin Miller. And so I want to thank Ron, but I also want to thank Andre for having me here. Now, I know what you're thinking. Here comes this guy at this time in the program. We're trying to get out of here. We're trying to stay around for Mel Miller. Well, I want you to know that Ron called me yesterday. I'm going to out him. And he said, brother, you know I love you. But where you're coming in the program, I'm going to give everybody else 3, but I'm going to give you 4. But I want you to stay within that 4. I reminded him that once I'm in front of the mic, I don't think he's going to come up here and try to snatch it from me. But I also said that Mel has that killer stare that he's been using on me for a long time. And so I'm looking over there to make sure that that doesn't happen. I'm so grateful that you've allowed me to have this opportunity because it gives me a chance to apologize to Mr. Miller. I'm apologizing because, yes, in my house there was Jesus, there was Dr. King, but there was the Pittsburgh Courier on my table as well. And Mr. Miller would go out of his way to let me know that he thought the Pittsburgh Courier could do better as a newspaper. And everyone knows that was hitting me in my soul because of the way I love that choir. But it was in that choir that I learned about what was happening in Massachusetts. And so, Pastor, as I used to read Ebony and all that, and I would see our great senator during those times, a debonair man with a part in his head. Then I came up, and one day all of my mentors, the Ellen Jacksons, the Ruth Batsons, and all of his contemporaries, who were proud as he is to be from Roxbury, said, "You gotta meet this man." So I walk into this guy's office, and I see this debonair, unbelievably, impeccably dressed man who was using words that I could not even comprehend at the time. And I was trying to figure out why he had, with all of these professional accomplishments, decided that he was going to give up all those things and all those trappings that I, as a young boy, was looking at and saying, I won. But he was willing to give all of that up for this community. Now, that was a 17-year-old man looking at those kinds of things. But then that African American Institute got a hold to me over at Northeastern University, and I understood why Mr. Miller was loving our community so much and why he had a passion. I understood what it was to be somebody who was a journalist, a lawyer, an author, an entrepreneur, along with all these other interests. And he became a model to me of what a true Renaissance man, what a true dream keeper could be. And I saw it as an honor for him, as Carmen Fields says, to begin and to be that person that would sing the songs of the unsung heroes and heroines in our community. And then one day, I picked up the banner, and I saw myself in the banner when they had that roving reporter that used to go around and ask you questions. But then when I read what I said, I said, it's good to be 17 because I got away with that. But it was so amazing just to see that. And so over the years, I've come to know Mr. Miller, and I know that this is a calling. It's a calling for him, a calling to support the community he loves. After all, he and his friends had decided years before my first encounter that a newspaper was necessary as an outlet to bring clarity and honesty to portrayal of us, all of us in our community. Mr. Miller did not get into journalism to become popular. You've heard all that tonight. Those of you that know him know he's not going to do it to be popular. It is no popularity contest. In fact, I bet it was hard for him to even come in this room tonight to be celebrated because he didn't know what any of us were going to be saying about him tonight. But we've learned from you. It's not 58 years. It's almost 90 years that you have been working hard and learning how to work hard in this community. What a blessing for me to see that modeled. A black man in this city living to be 90 plus years. What an amazing thing. And so I recently had a chance to rewind. I spent a lot of time with Mr. Miller over the last couple decades in his office. And so I go in there with a different kind of professional maturity when I walk in there now. Now I notice the artifacts that were present all along. The framed original front page of the William Monroe Trotter Guardian newspaper. Seeing the Guardian hanging there prominently on the wall give insight to what fuels the passion. That framed, yellowing broadsheet reminds us of the history and tradition of the black press. And for that, Mr. Miller, we appreciate and love you. Finally, few people have in these days and times spent 90 years of their lives in the same neighborhood where they grew up. If they're lucky, they learn to see the wider world from the windows of home as you did, Mr. Miller. That's exactly how you grew up, learning from accomplished friends, neighbors who taught you to see the bigger picture. Between the lessons from close to home and what you learned at Boston Latin, okay, and Harvard and Columbia Law School too, you were prepared for the long march of life that you've been on and well lived with both its battles and its rewards. One of the biggest compliments this guy likes to give somebody is calling them a true Bostonian. Mr. Melvin Miller, I just want to say it takes one to know one. Mr. Melvin Miller, you are a true Bostonian. You are a loyal friend, a true defender of this community that helped to create you. What a blessing to have you. Thanks for being that model of excellence for young men like myself who've come up behind you, who still take incredible pride in knowing you and loving you, Mr. Miller. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Motley. Once again, let's bring back Ron Mitchell to the stage.
All right, just a little bit of housekeeping. I want to thank all of you. We're rounding to a close soon, but really quickly, I want to thank all the public officials who came today to honor you, Mel. Russell Holmes, State Rep, Sheriff Steve Tompkins in the House, State Representative Chris Worrell, City Councilor Brian Worrell, oh, that's the two Worrells, District Attorney Kevin Hayden, Tanisha Sullivan, President of the NAACP Boston chapter, New England chapter, Rasan Hall, the new Urban League President, Rasan, Police Commissioner Michael Cox, thank you, Michael. Of course, all the folks who were kind enough to speak, Mayor Wu in person, and all the digital tributes. I also want to thank our banner staff. Karen, Mel's sister, stand up, Karen, please. Joe Wheeler, Mel's cousin, stand up, Joe. Okay. Rachel Reardon, if Rachel's here. Joanne Strolin, Carol Allen. Colin, of course, our digital sales. Colin Red. Colin, say hi. We want to thank Pat Bonner-Duval, who's on the vineyard right now. Anthony Neal, one of our contributing editors. Anthony, stand up, please. Selena Colby, our wonderful arts and culture. Stand up, Selena, give us a wave. Brian O'Connor, who's not here tonight, I want to thank Brian. Olivia Grant, we also want to thank Olivia. Is she still here? There you go. Avery, I think Avery is on vacation. Tanisha Bott, Tanisha's out of town, but she still writes for us, and she'll be back. Peter Roby, Peter, I saw you. Peter, stand up for us, please. Peter's been writing for a few years for us. Our wonderful acting managing editor and our guiding light for journalism, Mr. Ken Cooper, Pulitzer Prize winner. Thank you, Ken. Couldn't do it without you. We want to thank Scott Haas, we want to thank Yawu Miller as well. Unfortunately, Yawu's not here. Yawu, 25 years by his uncle's side. Yawu Miller, we want to thank you. Jack, we also want to thank you. Where's Jack? Where's Jack? Oh, Jack left. Okay, well, thanks, Jack, as well. I know it's getting late. And, of course, our new sports department writer, Jimmy Myers. So thank you, Jimmy. Thank you. So I just want to say a couple things before I bring Mel up. I want to talk about Mel's legacy in the city and all that. When Andre and I first went and talked to Mel, it was April 1st. And Andre and I walked in, and within 30 seconds, he said, you know, Ron, Martin. He said, you know, Martin called me. Martin Luther King. He asked me, Mel, come on down south and do some nonviolent protesting. And I told him, I'm from Roxbury, I'm not nonviolent. If they spit on me, I'm gonna kick their ass. So needless to say, I didn't go. And what he was trying to tell Andre and I was that if we're gonna step into his shoes, we better be ready to stand up and have some backbone, because it's not gonna be easy. It's not gonna be easy, but it's gonna be good. It's gonna be rewarding. And when you think about Mel being an icon, you know, this was an ad, we went back in time from Zayre's. And prior to this video, you saw a picture of Mel from one of his awards. And this was on the next page. So what Zayre's did, and for those who don't know, Zayre's is like Target, but back in the day. So they took Mel's picture, and they didn't have any black models back in '65, so they made a cartoon of Mel, and he was the model. So I don't know if he wore the cravat before he became a model or after, but so without further ado, Mel, we love you, we thank you. The podium is yours. God bless you. Mel Miller, everybody. We'll do it later. Thank you, my brother.
My knees don't cooperate all the time, so that's why I have the cane. I'll tell you, I must say, I'm a little embarrassed with all these nice things being said about me this time. This is very unusual, by the way, the way things work out. And I just ran into Mel King's daughter, who is here, and it just reminded me, I love Mel King, but we never agreed on anything. You know, it was funny, and it's a different way we approach things in those days. I mean, Mel had certainly a solid character, and yet we were different, and we saw the world differently, and we fought about it. And then after he said, okay, we didn't carry it with us. And I loved him and his family. So I just, seeing his daughter here today just brought that to my mind. Think about the way we've changed. One of the things I want everybody to understand is that, you know, somehow when you're the target of all of this gracious applause, and I'm very grateful for it after a long time, because I've gotten the other side a lot too, you know. But I want you to get a sense of that the banner didn't just come out of the air. It was a hard battle to make it happen. And what happened is that when I was young, being a Roxbury man, of course, was always a very significant thing. My homie Otis Gates and I went to high school together. We were both at Boston Latin School. We went to Harvard together. And going to Harvard was sort of an interesting thing. We said, wow, look at all this. And so we said, we got to figure out how to bring some of this back to Roxbury, you know what I mean? And so we spent a lot of time together saying, well, how are we going to make things better for all of the folks left behind who couldn't come over to cross the river to get to Harvard with us. And we saw things a little differently. Going to Harvard sort of can screw you up if you didn't look at it the right way. But otherwise, it can really make you very smart if you begin to see it properly. So Otis and I decided that we were going to get together at some time, and what really inspired us was a Civil Rights Act, because both of us were interested in economics. We said, you know, maybe the problem really is that we keep trying to get people to like us. And I said, I don't know whether they will or not. I'm talking about blacks. And I said,
But what we have to be focusing our money on our attention on is how are we going to create some wealth so we can get rid of the problems that we have when we can't pay our bills. That was on our mind, and interestingly, I didn't think about it for many years because you're struggling and trying to get through. But then the Civil Rights Act came down, and Otis and I said, wow, this is the change. This is going to make the difference. Because before, the idea of going into business was really very difficult. Just think, if you couldn't travel, the only businesses you could have would be in a very small pod in Boston. You couldn't go to Atlanta or outside the city where discrimination would prevent you from moving. So we decided that with the Civil Rights Act, this is the time. And so what we're going to do is produce a newspaper. So what did we do? What they keep telling us, friends and family. So we went to the family and got all the money that we could get. It wasn't quite enough. So we said, well, let me see who the friends are. And believe it or not, you know, we were both Harvard alumni. So I went to the Bank Boston, went up to one of the loan offices, and I said, oh my God, my classmate. It was Ken Rossano, who's been a friend of mine from the early time. I think we lived in the same dorm. And Otis and I walked out of the Bank Boston with the equivalent of about $120,000 in today's money on the basis of a signature. We had no assets, no job, no anything but an idea. Now, you have to know that. That's how the banner started. An idea that somebody's willing to put their butt on the line for. And so that's how it went. But one of the things that we found as we started working with the banner, coming up with ideas of what the community needed, see, it's hard for people in this generation to think back. What was it like 50-odd years ago? There were no institutions. There weren't all these nonprofits ready to throw some money into this and help you out. There was you and a few friends. That's all there was. So we had to do what we could to motivate people to think well of themselves and to take advantages when they would arise. But we knew we were both economically oriented toward fiscal issues. And one of the things that happened is that a bunch of brothers decided to open a bank called Unity Bank. And we were very excited about that. And we did what we could to make everybody excited about it too. But it didn't take long before the bank was in serious trouble. And the banking commissioner at that time was a wonderful lady from Brookline named Frida Koplow, who under the banking laws had to shut the bank down. And I said, well, listen, you know, publishing a paper is one thing, but who else is going to keep the bank up? How are we going to do this? So I said, we'll go over and talk to Frida Koplow and say, hey, you can't shut the bank down because if this bank closes, it'll be the end of us having a bank in Boston. She looked and said, oh, what can I do about that? Well, here's the thing. Fortunately for us, one of our good friends from Latin school and Harvard was a guy named Bob Rittenberg, who was turned out to be her nephew. So now, the reason I'm telling you this is don't write people off. I mean, you can make friends everywhere, and I mean, who would have thought that Bob Rittenberg who was a good friend, just his connection made Frida Kahlo know more about us. And so we made a deal. Otis Gates, who was my partner at the time, came forward, and she said you had to have a big law firm and an accounting firm. So Otis took care of getting an accounting firm. And I looked around, and I had another classmate from Harvard, Paul Beatty from Sullivan and Worcester, who was a good friend. And he was a partner in Sullivan and Worcester, and he sent one of his close associates, Dennis Torres. That's when I first met Dennis Torres. Now, a lot of people, to me, him sending Dennis Torres to us was an enormous salvation for this community, because here is a man with extraordinary skills, financial skills, and what we did is we put together a plan to hold the bank up. So we had to get it to the next level. This is the Bay State Manor. Essentially, this is the kind of work we had to do. We had to get out there. Somebody pointed it out. There weren't all these resources. So what's the sense in talking about you've got to do this and that, and there wasn't any way to do it? I mean, you just make people hungry and there's no food. What's the point? So one of the things that happened with the Banner became the most active, non-passive publication, I think, in the whole, certainly in New England. And Dennis worked on so many things, we can't tell you all of them, because a lot of the strategies had to be done with quiet sophistication that made big changes. But it was all part of the operation of the publication. So I hope you guys are ready to work in a whole lot of areas where you don't know a damn thing about it, and have to start digging in and figuring out how to do it. Now, it was very important at that time because we were able to keep the bank from closing down, and I had to add another job being publisher. I had to be her representative in the bank. So I had that gave me 2 jobs right there. So we kept it going, and at the end of a period, guess what? We operated profitably. But the problem is that a lot of the brothers and sisters didn't quite understand when you borrow money from a bank, at some point you got to pay it back. So we were in some difficulty. We knew we had to. But we showed the operation capacity to make it successful. But we had to get new capital, and that's what happened when they formed a new bank, Boston. What was it called? Boston Bank. Boston Bank of Commerce, and then. From the Boston Bank of Commerce, thank goodness, Kevin Cohey and Terry Williams, after that began to falter a little bit, stepped forward, came up with some really serious equity, and established One United Bank. Now, what's the message of all this? You know, this is Roxbury's bank. It is now the largest black-owned and managed bank in the country. Now I have to say, it's not big enough yet, but I'm going to tell you, I felt very proud. I said, we did this. And at the same time, in New York, they were trying to establish a black bank, and they couldn't do it. New York blacks used to always say, well, You're from Boston, huh? Well, we're New York. New York this. They couldn't establish a bank. And to tell you the truth, George Russell left Roxbury. George Russell is a wonderful, wonderful guy. He left. He and I went to the same grammar school, so he's a Roxbury guy, no question. And so he went to New York and tried to help to establish the bank without any success, and came and he came back working for State Street Bank, and and he went from State Street to One United Bank as a director. So what happened is that you have to understand that the attitude that comes with your publication is an absolute understanding of that you can do anything. You can do anything. We have to get rid of this attitude that people try to impose us of whining, oh my goodness, they're going to do this to us, and blah. You know, that's so destructive to us. And it was an absolute commitment of folks that created One United Bank, and I am so proud of that because it is the largest black-owned and managed bank in the country. Now there are lots of other banks that call themselves black banks, and you have to be careful because it's not really what they say it is. Now, I want you to understand that coming out of this is that you never do anything by yourself. It's always a team, and it's very nice to hear people say all encouraging and flattering things about me, but I'm not fooled because I know that I didn't do all these things. I had teams to do it, and there are people who have been so committed to these objectives. I'm not going to name them all because some of them part of them, some of them have already been named by my successor. But I do want to mention my wife, Sandra, because I would tell you, 37 years ago, just about, she and I got married, and I just never expected that she would be so energetic, so brilliant, so smart, able to solve almost any kind of problem. And I will guarantee you that without her support and help over the years, there would be no Banner today. So, and I could tell you a lot of other programs, a lot of things that came out of the Banner, and it's quite right. Martin Luther King, by the way, was very fond of Boston, and he and others tried to get us to join a nonviolent programs, but we said, I'm not going to agree to that. If people want to attack us, they better come ready. And that's been very, very critical. And that attitude of we can do everything and we can take care of ourselves is what is going to make Boston and Roxbury stronger going forward. And you have to remember, one thing that's missing is you got to have, I love Roxbury. I love Roxbury, and I love the people. And look at what we've been able to accomplish. Look at you. Look at you. You are just wonderful. And if you can see from my books, you can see precisely what we've been able to accomplish. Look at this successor. Isn't this marvelous? Good. Okay, good.
Thank you. Don't go anywhere, Mel. Don't worry. Mel, before, and I was gonna take a moment to thank Sandra, so I'm so wonderful that you brought her up. I also want to thank the NIA team led by Linda Valus, Malaika Shepard, Narissa Williams, and their support team. And most of all, I want to thank my wonderful wife, Lisa, for supporting me. My two boys, Alexander and Andrew. Stand up, guys, stand up. My mother-in-law, my wonderful family. Thank you so much.
Good.
And Colin, we have one more thing we want to bring up for you, Mel. This is Colin Red, our digital sales manager, sales manager general.
Well, Mr. Miller, we thank you so much. After your 58 years, we want to present this plaque to you for your service to Boston and being the voice of the community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay.
All right.
It's been a wonderful, wonderful evening.
All right. And without further ado, our hostess, there's one last presentation.
One last treat before the dessert reception. There's no better way to close this program than with Dr. Dennis Slaughter, leading member of the Boston Community Choir, performing the Oscar-winning song Glory by John Legend and Common. Thanks again for allowing me to be your host. Enjoy.
Be sure, we will be sure. Oh, glory, oh, glory, glory, oh, glory.
Hands to the heavens, no man, no weapon formed against us, just glory is destined. Every day, women and men become legends. Things that go against our skin become blessings. The movement is a rhythm to us. Freedom is like religion to us. Justice is juxtapositioning us. Justice for all just ain't specific enough. One son died, his spirit is revisiting us. Truant living in us. Resistance is us. That's why Rosa sat on the bus. That's why we walk through Ferguson with our hands up. When it goes down, we woman and man up. They say stay down, and we stand up. Shots, we're on the ground, the camera panned up. King pointed to the mountaintop, and we ran up.
One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours. It will be ours.
child. Even Jesus got his crown in front of a crowd. They march with the torch, we gon' run with it now. Never look back, we done gone hundreds of miles. From dark roads, he rose to become a hero. Facing the League of Justice, his power was the people. Enemy is lethal, a beat can come lethal. Saw they face a Jim Crow under a bald eagle. The weapon is to stay peaceful. We sing, our music is the clutch that we beat through. Somewhere in a dream we had in epiphany. Now, we right the wrongs in history. No one can win the war individually. It takes the wisdom of the elders and the young people's energy. Welcome to the story we call victory. The coming of the Lord, my eyes have seen the glory.
One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours. It will be ours. Oh, one day, when this war is won, we will be sure. We will be sure. Help me say glory, glory, glory. We'll sing glory. If you believe it, say glory. Oh, glory. Oh, glory. Oh, glory. We'll cry glory. We'll cry glory. As one voice, glory. Oh, glory. We'll cry glory. We'll cry glory. If you believe it, say glory. If you believe it, say glory. Glory, glory,
I want to thank our writer, Susan Chakachi. I want to thank the wonderful band. I want to let everybody know that there is dessert outside. The band's going to play a few more tunes for us wonderfully. Right outside the door is the dessert and a few more refreshments. I want to thank everybody for coming. Mel, we want to thank you for all that you've done for our community. We love you, my brother. God bless you guys. Please stick around, have some dessert. Andre Stark, my wonderful partner, thank you for everything.
So, you know, you didn't hear from me tonight much, but you have to pick your spots. And the one thing I wanted to say is I am so happy to see everybody out here tonight. Everybody has said that Boston is not a mosaic, it's more of a salad with just a lot of different groups of people just thrown together. But looking out on this audience, I see how many different types of people have come here to honor Mel, and it really makes me proud to be a Bostonian. So I also want to have our famous and our fabulous arts writer, Susan, please stand up because we omitted you before.
Oh,
and I want to make sure that you wave and tell everybody how great a writer you are.
Sorry, Susan.
So everybody, thank you again for coming tonight. We've had a great night. It's great to honor Mel. I'm glad to be part of the banner, and the one thing that you learn when you take on a new job is you have to learn everything all over again. And we're both digital people, and now we have to be newspaper people, and it's a great opportunity to learn a whole new job and a whole new way of life. Thank you very much, Mel.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I want to thank our wonderful hostess from Channel 5, Jessica Brown. Jessica, thank you so much, Jessica. Thank you, Jessica.